In the wise words of Wario, the Raptors keep winning, but at what cost?
What?
Hey, man.
Wario?
Yes. You know the meme? You know memes?
I've won, but at what cost?
My go-to character in Mario Party 2.
Yeah, it might be like a good 5-10% worse.
Glad you're here after the Bills game, man.
You're lying.
I had multiple texts saying wellness check ? So this is Basketball Island. Hein, Hambone, Wes, Fab, and the Raptors are on fire. They look like a legit team. They've won 6 of their last 7. The defense is like playing like legit. Like let's look at some of the numbers here. I know we've gone back and forth whether the best or second best since January 13th. 105.4 defensive rating, second in the NBA. 43.3 opponent field goal percentage, third in the NBA. 32.8 opponent three-point percentage, sixth in the NBA. That's real defense, real numbers over a relatively normal sample.
All right, so I like what I'm seeing. Like, there's an identity forming here. Like, the team plays defense. They play hard. Credit to Darko Rajakovic for this development as we've seen over the season. I just, like, if you're looking at the big picture, this is bad. Like, it just is. So you're kind of caught between two situations where it's like, I love what I'm watching. These games are more entertaining. The team plays hard. It's a team you can identify with. However, at what cost? And we're constantly weighing that. Like, I understand the trade deadline's looming. You have some guys that you're trying to showcase for other teams to potentially acquire. I think that should 100% be the move. Josh Lewenberg's, we were talking the other day, has it on pretty good authority that the Raptors front office is torn on this. They love what they're seeing, but again, like, what are we doing here? I think the team is too far down the standings to make a run. I still think they should tank, but how could you not like what you see?
I mean, the question I'm asking myself is, do these wins matter? And yes, they matter because wins and losses have consequences, right? You're exchanging lottery odds for culture building, player development. The assets you're trying to trade are getting better. So this is the exchange I'm living with. Yep. So now we've talked about this ad nauseum that, we're in favor of getting the best lottery odds possible. However, this is something you're going to have to live with what's happening.
And there's a few things that the organization is trying to fight for. They want better lottery odds. They also want maximum output for the players that are tradable right now. And so if you're a Raptors fan on Team Tank, there's 6 games left between now and the trade deadline. Your hope is that it's these final 6 games where the Raptors are really, really going to be winning more games than they should. And then hopefully that results in them getting the best available draft assets that they can. And then what happens after February 6th, we'll see.
And that's kind of how I look at this too. If there's ever a point of the season where you're going to win games and look great, it is this time where, as you said, you're showcasing these guys. And then, like the joke I made in our group chat, after the deadline, everyone's got knee tendonitis. Yeah, like you just that's just how you have to do it.
Man, like you've won 6 of 7. Like I think the chances of going bottom 4 are dying.
They're gone. I think they're gone.
You think they're dead?
They're gone.
Just because of how bad
they're gone.
Yeah, I mean, I said this last week. Charlotte and Brooklyn are dangerous teams in the tank race, and now the Raptors are ahead of both of them. But I think what we're also learning is that this season is long, okay? So a few weeks ago, I mean, I'll even own it, I said this team can't play good defense. How many plus defenders do they have? 1, 2, 3? Now they have the, second best defense over the past 2 weeks. So the season is long, and there's ebbs and flows. And I'm not going to do this thing and say, well, the Raptors have turned the corner. Look how great they are. They could lose 4 of their next 5 games. Then what are we saying? That they're bad again? So there's just, once again, ebbs and flows of a season. 100%. And that's what we're in.
But there has been development on that end of the floor.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Like, it's been pretty palpable to watch. And be remiss if we didn't say it's happening with Emmanuel Quickley on the bench. Out, injured. That's a problem. Like, so I think there's a lot of things on the line here. Like, again, it's a small sample size, to your point. But they've never looked better than they have at this juncture.
So wait, why do you think that's the reason why the defense is so much better? Is it quickly based, or is there other? What are the other factors?
Yeah, these guys are going to chirp me, but I'm a big Davion Mitchell guy.
I've heard.
I had no idea.
I had no idea. I think he's. We can agree to disagree on him as a player. I think his fit is perfect for this starting lineup because he's going to take the opposing team's best perimeter player, best guard. 100% he's going to guard them. He's going to do connector things. He's going to pass the ball. He doesn't need a diet of shots. He'll take an open shot after a couple swings. Whereas Emmanuel Quickley, is relied upon to score. If he's not giving you scoring, then his utility goes down because Quickley has not been good defensively this season. So I think with the starting lineup, with someone like RJ Barrett, you need a guy who can take on defensive responsibilities. And we'd be remiss also if we didn't say that Scotty Barnes is playing out of mind right now. So I think you have those things all happening at once, and there's a lot to evaluate.
I think that's the biggest thing to point out during this winning streak that's not good for the tank is that this is the trade-off. You don't want to see players who are going to be shipped off being the ones really, really held responsible for the success. Scotty is the one carrying all this winning right now. That's good.
That's great.
Like listen, we all know this in life. We're old enough to know good habits, bad habits. It's very tough to shake bad habits. Very tough to build good habits. Scotty is showing all the brick by brick process it takes to become a good two-way player, and you're seeing it through this winning streak.
You know what's funny
now.
too? Like, I was watching the game against the Pelicans, and Scotty came out like shooting 6 threes early in the game. That's like, oh, this is not what he was doing, and then it literally flipped, and he took over that game against the Pelicans.
Even with a poor shooting night, he still found a way to
impacted the
game. That's it exactly.
Especially defensively. Like what we're seeing from Scotty is actually pretty special.
Oh yeah.
So I'm so you're weighing this thing where it's like if he's carrying your team 2 wins. How mad can you actually get?
So, but here's the question then: Has his level gotten to a point where he might be too good the rest of the way?
That's the feeling.
I know Fab keeps joking about enjoying the 8th overall pick.
But I mean, at the end of the day, Scotty, he wants to try to make All NBA. I think that's still on the table. I mean, I don't think he's going to be chosen for All-Star game because it's just
I think it's a little late.
Too bad record. But I want to point out something interesting. So I was listening to his scrum a few days ago on off day. And the way he was talking was very, he sounded like a leader of the team. He was talking about how we have to be more consistent on defense. We have to string together better possessions. And I love hearing that kind of stuff from him because heading into the year, what did we say? He needs to take hold of this team as the leader. So the way he's playing and the way he's talking is a very positive step forward for the team right now.
And it's very it's a very egalitarian offense too. So he's not like, oh, I need 30 shots. He is more willing to pass than shoot. He's just doing things I think that lead and contribute directly to winning.
Yeah.
And it's just, I think the Raptors are caught in a spot where it's like, you know what? I hope it's just Bruce Brown, Chris Boucher, and Davion Mitchell that are affecting these wins. I don't think that's the case. I think Scotty Barnes is the main reason. Those guys are helping. I'm torn, man. You said we have 6 games before the deadline.
Yeah, there's 6 left, and
What if they go 12? What if they win 12 or 13 or 11 to 13?
So I mean,
then we're talking playing, baby.
Okay, so I think this is perfect opportunity to talk about what's been the cost of this winning so far.
Yeah.
So from the point when the winning streak this winning stretch has started to where they are now, they've jumped 3 teams at the bottom of the standings. So they went from a 14% chance to have the first overall pick. That's dropped down to 9. And like Fab alluded to, I think some of these teams that they've jumped over, I don't think they're going back behind. So are you comfortable with taking a 36% drop in your opportunity to get the first overall pick? That's what the cost has been now.
No.
So it's too late, but it's too late. The damage is already done. You can't go backwards.
Here's the problem. Winning is addictive. Once you win, you want to keep winning.
I like it, yeah.
And you can't tell these players to put a cap on
Absolutely
it and
not.
say stop winning.
You can by sitting these guys out.
Need
That is
tendinitis.
how you do that.
This is my next point. We talked about ethical tank. It's an unethical tank now.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, I
Messiah has to pull the plug on the team and
Yeah.
say there's no more winning after this point because we need to help ourselves in the long term for this franchise.
So, depending on what you get then, because look at the numbers with Bruce Brown. Look at the numbers with Chris Boucher. They have turned themselves into assets where 3 weeks ago, I know you scoffed at the idea that they might have to just waive Bruce Brown, buy out Bruce Brown. There's no chance that happens.
Well,
now.
we said
be
if
a
they have
mistake.
to buy him out, that's a failure.
Exactly.
I mean,
And now,
if.
now though, I don't know. We talked before. Looking at OKC's roster, a team that has everything, all of the treasure chest of assets, doesn't Bruce Brown seem like the perfect fit to just go to OKC off the bench?
Salaries are tough.
And if you can get I get that, but say you can get 2 years from now a first round pick that's likely in the 20s, that would be fantastic.
That'd be great.
To your point, Bruce Brown's a very malleable player. So
He can fit everywhere,
a lot of
yes.
teams could use him. He's a guy who can come off the bench, handle the rock,
Defend.
he can shoot a bit, he can guard multiple positions. So why wouldn't you want a player like
Shouldn't
that?
every playoff team want him?
Sure, but
the salary.
the question is, can you make the trade work?
Yeah.
What are you willing to give up? But the positive thing is he looks like the player we expected him to be
Yes.
now, right? So I think maybe they've timed this well enough that, okay, give us your best. I think you said this a couple months ago. 3 weeks before the deadline,
Yeah.
Bruce, sprint.
Yeah,
Sprint
yeah.
and give us everything you have, man.
And that's what we're seeing. Strategically, doesn't it make sense to hold out Bruce Brown as long as possible? And then it's almost like we're 2 weeks before the deadline. We're 3 weeks before the deadline.
Yes.
Hey, Bruce, sprint.
Shout out to him. He's sprinting right now. So I think he has the good thing about Bruce Brown, he fits quite a few teams. It just, can the salaries match or not? We'll see. We got 6 games to go. We'll see how good
Man,
they look, but it's coming.
The fear of being hyperbolic, like these 6 games, this little stretch might be like the most important in Raptors, I would say the last like 2-3 years, because this is a chance to plant your flag in the sand one way or another, in my opinion. I hope they're not dead yet in terms of finishing bottom 4. It's looking that way. I still think there is time to right the ship, whatever that means. Quite frankly, I have no idea. You need to get something for these guys.
So
That is the most important thing. I understand winning is addictive. I understand it's fun and the defense is good. You need assets for Boucher. You need assets for Brown. Again, if you can pull it off, that should be the mindset, in my opinion.
while we're being hyperbolic, is
important.
Chris Boucher the greatest shooting pick of all time based off of what we've seen on a per-minute basis
Better
over
than
the
Dirk.
last 2 weeks?
Better than Dirk, right?
Please stop, man.
No, but I'm saying like what he has played himself into an asset as well. Obviously, like it's just kind of flukish that he's only playing like 18 minutes a game, yet has these crazy shooting splits.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, the cost of all this winning right now for the drop they've had in the lottery ball odds, if they don't get any reasonable assets for these players, failure. It's a failure. The winning has to result in them getting Bruce, Boucher, all these guys
But
shipped off for reasonable assets.
What counts as a good asset then? What's a good asset for Boucher?
Better than 0. There's
So,
a
like,
world where Boucher doesn't get
Are you
moved at
happy
all.
with like a second-round pick for Boucher?
I think
Listen,
that's the market.
you'd rather get 25% of something than 0% of nothing.
Okay, what about Brown then?
That's
What's
a good equation.
Yeah,
I
right?
like that. I mean,
Yeah.
it adds up to me.
well,
I think Brown, ideally you
100%
want a
nothing,
first
is what I
round
meant.
pick. I think that's going to be tough. I think the most likely scenario for the Raptors is to somehow get involved in a larger deal. Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal's name's being floated out there, though he has a no trade clause. Like that to me is probably the best way to get involved in this. It's tough to find the salaries that match straight up for Bruce Brown. Chris Boucher, much more tradable salary. Davion Mitchell, much more tradable salary. I think that's the best chance to get assets, but I just don't think you can. February 6th comes by. February 7th, and these guys are still on the roster, and you're debating to like release them or talk yourself into re-signing them. Like Bruce Brown, with all due respect, he said he liked Toronto. He ain't resigning here. Like he's entering the prime of his career, probably on the depending on where you see his game, like in the latter half of his prime. He's gonna go to a contender.
Yeah.
You cannot lose him for nothing. He was the major piece you acquired in the Siakam.
so depending on, obviously we've talked about what the timeline is. How willing are you to take on a bad or toxic asset if it's a bad contract? For say we talked, me and Fab were talking before about like Beal and how Beal for next year is a bad contract. 2 years though.
Stay away from Beal.
No, but like if your Raptors window is so far away, how willing are you to maybe take on a toxic asset in order to gain a first?
Depends on the asset.
Yeah.
Like there's different levels. There's levels to this. Like Beal is super toxic because he has a no trade and he's making $50 million a year. I think if you're talking about acquiring a younger player, but also eating an extra year of salary.
Yeah, but like 2 years of salary you don't want to eat.
I
Like
think that's something you heavily consider.
Yeah.
But it depends on what that asset is that makes it tenable.
I think if you're the Raptors, I would have no problem if I'm getting assets taking on bad money over 2 years because you're not going to do anything for the
Depends
next
on
2 years
that.
anyways.
Yeah, it's just like the windows. I think a lot of teams are trying to offload 3-4 year guys that they just don't
Yeah.
want a part of anymore. And I think there's a world where the Raptors are better off just eating Bruce Brown's salary than to take a
Yeah, anything over 2 years I think is crazy. But if it's 2 years, you're not doing anything in those 2 years anyways.
they're in a very interesting spot, man. I alluded to it. We didn't really go into it, like the Quickley stuff.
So yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, we gave him great. I gave him a terrible grade when we did our mid.
think we all gave him bad
We gave
grades,
him
right?
bad
worst
grade.
grade I gave.
9 games. There's no reason. Okay, listen, he's been a good player in his career. Now he's going to play better than what he's showed us this year. Can we all agree on that? I mean,
course. So.
I don't think the Monstars have taken the basketball
good.
power out of his body.
Wow. He did it.
I got it. I got his talent.
I mean, he should be able to. Like, I don't see why he can't be a floor spacer, off ball kind of guy who can spot up for shots. Like, you have to be able to incorporate him better than you are right now. Like, maybe he's not the primary creator. Maybe that has to be more of Barnes and Barrett with Quickley kind of floating around because we saw it. There's times where he's kind of picking up his dribble. He's kind of, I don't know, not really finding the guys he should be. There's
Also not guarding. And
that has to. Do you maybe think injuries have something to do with his play?
Maybe.
Are they hampering him in a way?
Benefit of the doubt.
Here's the question. When you have a minus defender in RJ and a minus defender in Quickley,
And Grady.
is I'm just saying, just let's focus BBQ. Is BBQ fundamentally flawed? Because, like Wes alluded to it, we've seen them play better when one guy has been out. So is BBQ fundamentally flawed?
Hold on. Just RJ Barrett during this win streak.
Yeah, his defense
Just
has been
let
better,
me throw
yes.
some numbers at you.
Fab just pandering to the comment section.
53% from the field, 48% on threes.
Yeah.
Okay, he's putting up what, over 20 a game. I mean, he's five assists, 6.5 boards. I mean, the dude is
You
plus
tip the cap
plus
offensively.
6. Does he not look like he's competing a little harder defensively too?
100%.
So D minus to D plus?
No, the D minus thing was a
Sorry.
story.
Yes, I know. We get the joke.
Sorry,
Telling the
18.9 points per game. He
Yeah,
hasn't
he's
hit
probably
20.
closer
But efficient.
to
The
a-
efficiency is back.
Probably closer to like a C plus B minus. But like again, I think this is you're talking about BBQ. Like if RJ's not tasked with guarding the opposing team's best guard, you can let's say hide him, but you can put him up against players that he can defend at a better rate overall. Whereas Davion Mitchell will take away the opposing guard. Like, you know for a fact he's guarding Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, Damian Lillard. Like, he's that guy. Whereas if RJ's tasked to do that, if Quickley's tasked to do that, the defense craters, right? So RJ's probably better off guarding someone like Trey Murphy. You know? Like, he can get away with that. I think the fit is better when guys have a little more defined roles. I want the ball in Scotty's hands more. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, BBQ, it's a little too soon maybe to come up with a verdict, but I want one of those guys to be a little more better guarding the perimeter. It can't all be on Scotty. So
I was just gonna say, to answer your question, I think they're fundamentally flawed if they don't have like an Amen Thompson as that 2 spot.
Oh,
you
just-
know,
hold
you
on.
know, I know I have.
Keep it in your pants,
almost
Hambone.
did on purpose. But like, I think with what we're seeing from them right now, that 2 spot can't be a guy like Grady. It has to be someone like Thompson who just comes in and is a absolute stopper.
You mean a generational guard?
That's the only way. That's the only way, because I'm not gonna lie, those 3 together, they already show some offensive flaws with how they play and sharing the ball, the 3 of them on that end. And then you flip it back on the defensive end.
Yeah.
Man, there's like red flags everywhere. You can only solve that if you have some dude like a Herb Jones, someone who's like a late, or like even like a Ryan Dunn. You know what I mean? Like just someone whose role is very clearly one job and one job only.
KCP, even Bruce Brown's in the starting lineup, right? He fills a role. Davion Mitchell. You can't have 4 guys. Well, I guess Barnes, like 3 guys. Like Barnes can defend. We know that, but he's taking forwards. IQ, Grady, and Barrett.
It's just too easy to attack everywhere.
Too easy
Like
to
Stephon,
attack.
like Stephon Castle.
Couple
You know what I
things. One, BBQ is a terrible nickname.
Why?
I don't know.
Really?
I don't like it. Anyways,
Okay. All right, hater.
Love
You-
barbecue.
Hater.
it's like here. I'm
You've
gonna
been to the Salt Lick in Austin. How dare you?
I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. What if a team comes knocking for Jakob Poeltl with a first on the table?
you
Says,
say-
you know what? Got a first for
100%
you.
you say
We got
yes.
we got a young player. We need a center.
No disrespect to Poeltl, but if you look at this draft right now, you're seeing some centers emerge who like play a very specific role and do it well. Like the Klingons of the world. Ware is doing a thing in Miami right now. I just think you're more likely to find someone who can fill the pieces if that scenario were to come
sure.
through.
I like Poeltl.
But
I like Poeltl
once
too.
again.
Keep in
I'm
mind
with you.
his contract is also ticking.
Yeah.
So
I like
is
Poeltl.
this
I'm
a guy you're now going to keep after the term of this contract?
he doesn't fit with your timeline. He doesn't fit with your timeline right now.
What
And
do
I
you
know
mean the
you
timeline
need,
is now, man.
What is
no,
the
this play-in
timeline?
for
but
what?
no, like I know you
Yeah,
need
what is the
adults in the
timeline?
room and stuff. But it doesn't. You can trade him now and then figure out the rest of the roster in the
I'm
offseason.
just throwing it out there. I'm not saying if the deal presents itself and there's good assets attached to it.
You know what sucks that the Lakers don't have any assets. I feel like he would be so good with the Lakers. Brow just said,
yeah, you're crying for a center.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Play center.
Yes, no, but he does play center. But like Yak would be a
Stop
nice.
complaining about it.
But like if you put Yak on the Lakers and he plays like 23 minutes a game, like because he can do enough offensively while still being somewhat like okay defensively.
Put value in a guy that like knows it's a rebuild and doesn't cause a stink and is a good locker
Yeah.
room guy. Like, you know, he's so like like you kind of want guys like that around. Like he does all the dirty work, sets great screens, rim protections up and down. But like I kind of like having a guy like that.
Well, look at the comp. Hartenstein is basically the comp.
Similar.
And look at how much he's excelling in that role for the best team in the NBA right now.
How fast is this retool gonna happen? Like that's the question.
Well, one thing I wanted to touch on was, a lot of people have had a lot of opinions on Darko Rajakovic this year. So does this not look like these guys really love him?
He's shown enough in the stretch that he 100% keeps his job.
Playing hard for him. Scotty, once again, a few days ago, was like, we love him because he cares about us as humans. And we've seen guys from Darko's past all vouch for him. So say what you want about him with, bad challenges or X's and O's, but like he connects with these guys.
Yeah,
and the fact that they haven't let go of the rope yet. There was that stretch where they were losing by 50 and we're like, okay, it's over. Now they're coming back and they're playing as hard as they ever have.
On our pod, I think we should go on record reminding everyone all this losing was never on Darko.
Yeah.
We've never put that on.
No one's going to win with this roster talent. Like prime Phil Jackson could be coaching this team.
And they were hurt. There were injuries. No, the vibes are high. The chemistry is off the charts with this team. And that was the case from training camp. Like that's all we heard. And it was just, do they have enough talent? Injuries start the year. They just dug themselves into a massive hole, and now they're slowly climbing back, and we're asking whether it's worth the climb. And that's where we're sitting right now. It's like, yeah, winning's great. Playing defense is amazing. There's an identity forming with this team. Is it good for the longevity of the team?
Just before we put a bow on it, the upcoming schedule at the time of the statement, we have the Wizards coming up, the Bulls, which is now actually a big game.
They're tanking too.
I think Zach LaVine is out. So, I mean, and then you could be talking about 2 more wins by the weekend.
Wes, give us the tankathon data.
I'm just saying.
Give the bad news to everybody.
The
now.
Raps are the only team to get 4 more Washington games. 2 Utah, 2 Charlotte, 2 Brooklyn, 2 Portland. That's a lot of sauce.
Okay,
easiest schedule remaining.
Based off of 4 Washington games alone,
that's 4
and
wins.
the rest, it's like 26.5 plus money on FanDuel.
It's a lot of potential wins.
The Raps should send a lot of baddies to the court in Washington, man. We need Jordan Poole playing like prime Curry in that game, dude.
Oh my God.
Kind of impossible to transition off of that, but
Speaking of baddies, Jimmy Butler.
yes, Jimmy Butler now suspended indefinitely, and I think the question is, will Jimmy Butler be traded by the deadline? Because it doesn't seem like it's as much of a lock as it did a week ago.
So Brian Windhorst reported that the Heat are now lowering their ask for Jimmy, which I think is the prudent move. With all due respect, man, asking him to come off the bench, I don't think.
I understand why he went home. You can't do that to Jimmy.
Yeah, I think both sides are super culpable in this. Like I don't think it needed to get here, but you put 2 alphas in a
Egos.
cage.
It's all
This
ego.
is what happens, right? Riley, Jimmy, like this is what happens. It's unfortunate because I thought that guy embodied like Heat culture. I think he did a lot of good stuff for them. So it's sad that it's come to this. However, Heat will lower their asking price. It's just, again, a matter of salaries, which is why I'm so intrigued by the Raptors getting involved because they do have a bunch of expirings that could help facilitate a trade. I didn't think he would be traded like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks. I thought like, oh man, it's gonna be tough. The Bradley Beal thing, I think that's DOA. I'm more open to, I think, him being traded now. It's, again, who gets in the dance. You're hearing a lot of stuff from Chicago. You're hearing like the Raptors are kind of in there. The salaries are not easy. The guy makes $50 million.
Well, and that's the thing. Beal saying he wouldn't go to Chicago. It turned out to be a big part of like
Beal
now.
is a toxic contract.
How is it Beal and LeBron are the only 2 people who have a no trade clause in the NBA?
Man,
How did Beal get that?
You just asked for it.
That's great work.
Yeah.
agents.
Yeah. Washington sports, man.
There you go.
What do you guys think? Is Jimmy getting traded?
I think Butler gets traded because Miami just wants to wash their hands because there's a lot of positive stuff going with the rest of the team right now. So having that stink over, and put it this way, if he doesn't get traded, what's everyone going to talk about about Miami between now and the end of the year?
Well, no, they'll send him home.
No, but they'll still talk about Jimmy.
Yeah.
Whereas the focus should be on Ware potentially becoming the rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Tyler Hero at MIP, like playing the best he's playing. Bam! He's got an opportunity now to be in a different role and to improve after a really bad season. You're not talking about any of those things. You're talking about Jimmy, and I don't think they want to hear anything about it anymore. I bet you Pat Riley also wants a spotlight off of himself because he has created this mess himself. Yeah. So nobody benefits from Jimmy being around. So I think they're willing to take 70 cents on the dollar. I don't know them infrastructure. I don't know if there is something out there.
Yeah, it's just so hard to say whether a deal can actually come to fruition. But yes, if there's a will, there's a way most of the time, especially when you're dealing with this amount of ego on both sides that I think everyone wants to put it past them. But dollars have to add up.
Yeah.
And that's easier said than done in this version of the NBA.
Especially when you're going to probably need 4 teams or three at least, and 4.
At least 3.
Now, I don't know. Last night during the Raptors game, we're taping this on a Tuesday, Celtics Rockets was on, and it was just honestly remember that time when TFC was in the MLS Cup final and they played the same day as the Champions League final? It's like you watch the Champions League final in the afternoon
gotcha.
and then you go and watch the MLS Cup.
Where is he
It was
going
like
with
completely different sports going from Raptors Pelicans to Rockets Celtics last night.
Yeah, heavyweights.
If you're Houston, I'm not just based, I'm maybe a little prisoner of the moment because of how good they looked winning in Boston. This team looks very, very ready. Would you trade for Jimmy Butler if you're Houston, or are you better served to just be patient and wait?
No, I would not.
I would not.
I think you go through the growing pains. I want my young players to get a taste of playoff basketball. I think they've already have their veterans already with Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks. Adding another guy, you kind of just cannibalize the youth on that team. I want to see Jalen Green in the playoffs. I want to see Şengün. I want to see Amen Thompson. Let them get those reps. I think the way OKC did it last year was smart.
Yeah.
Get there, give a team a shot, and then start nipping at the margins or make a big move with all these young assets you have. I think that's the way I would go personally. I would talk about it.
Yeah.
I would have a conversation.
Depends what's on the table,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But I mean, it would be fun, but I don't see Houston rocking the boat on this
Why?
team.
Yeah.
No, why should they?
I don't think they need to, and I don't think they want to have to pay him either going forward.
We've exceeded expectations already.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
I'm with you. I think it's like you want to see these guys fail in the playoffs and then assess your roster.
I mean,
out.
just to sprinkle in some odds here, because we do have friends at FanDuel
what
who
we do
sponsor
here.
us, but still some value on Ime Udoka, Coach of the Year, plus 500.
Gotta gas it up.
You're
a little.
talking about a team that might be second in the West.
As Cleveland is really not. Cleveland the dog days of the season. Cleveland.
Atkinson's still the favorite,
Yeah.
but
but Udoka beat him twice last week.
And if Houston is second in the West, I mean
He should get it.
That's a crazy
I would
turnaround.
sprinkle. I would sprinkle.
Amen Thompson,
Yeah.
10-1,
Oh, God.
6 of the year, 6 man of the year.
Dude,
So-
Amen Thompson, MIP is also interesting.
Yeah, some odds floating around there with the Rockets.
Where do you guys want to see? Where do you want to see? What is the most realistic place then for Jimmy to land? I know, like,
He opts in another year in Miami. Jimmy lives in chaos. You think he cares?
chaos is the ladder.
He'll collect 50 mil and make coffee and miss practice, man. He's
Yeah,
But like, it doesn't seem like Phoenix.
he's born in the darkness, man. He
If
doesn't
not,
care.
if
Molded
not
by
Phoenix, if not Phoenix, then where though? Because it seems like the Phoenix
luck.
ship has sailed. If it's
Tough
not going
luck,
to be
man.
it's tough luck for
Yeah.
Jimmy, man.
Is there a way, like, we're just thinking out loud here, like, is there a way, like, Julius Randle salary gets moved? I don't think
These
he's a
are
great
questions
fit.
for GMs and guys with cap spreadsheets.
or
who can-
someone who has the trade machine as their homepage.
Yes.
you go.
Do you ever grow up want to be like a GM? Like, I want
course,
to
we
be a
all
GM.
do.
Yes,
We
everyone
all
did.
do.
Yeah.
As long as someone could do the math.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a.
Yeah, you need a cap guy. You need an Andy
I'm not a
Ellisberg.
I'm not a cap guy, but great eye for talent.
Yeah, a little self-doubt.
Fab's just he's the scouts in Moneyball. Like, is his girlfriend hot?
Not an ugly girlfriend.
What's that mean?
Ugly girlfriend means no confidence.
Yeah, we need a Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
I think to me, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, the salary is just such an albatross. And I think Jimmy has to go to a place where the infrastructure is solid. Like, he wants to go to Phoenix. He is willing to be a third wheel there behind Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. Why the hell would any team want Bradley Beal? Like, I'm a Beal guy.
You should not.
A Beal guy.
Yeah,
for a
that-
couple
I
years.
think here's the case that I presented to
trade
Wes
clause.
before. If you take, you need to be a bad team like Utah who says we will take Bradley Beal for 2 years because our window is not 2 years. Next year, yes, bad contract. The year after, expiring. So if you're Utah and can get a bunch of
I'm gonna
assets,
stop you right there.
Because
why
of the no trade
would
clause?
Beal want to go to Utah? Like,
no.
he holds
That's what I'm
so
saying.
much
That's what I'm saying.
power.
With him
specifically.
I'm not saying that it would. I'm saying if I'm a team like Utah, that is who I would try to do that because of the assets. But yes, he's not going to win.
Once again, he has a no trade.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Now, do you think if you're another team, maybe you get him to, if you take him on this year and say, hey, if you waive your no trade clause, we will try to move you in the offseason? But he seems
there's
not,
a-
he does not want to
the
waive
old
that no trade
expression, man,
clause.
time will tell.
Make sure to catch us on right here on YouTube, but also Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts.